Assalamualaikum and a very good day I wish to all of you. Welcome to our forum for this week. I'm Aliah from SMK Aqilah as a moderator and also a panelist. Today, we would like to highlight a topic that is quite interesting to be discussed on, the importance of learning English at an early age. Before we proceed to our forum, I would like to introduce our panelists today. Our first panelist is Teacher Naqiyah from MPU Melayu. How are you, teacher?
I am good and I'm glad to be here this morning.
Alright, thank you. And our second panelist is Madam Yana, who has two children in primary school. How are you, Madam?
Very well, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, nowadays, why do most people speak English in their daily lives? To answer the question, I'm going to ask our first panel to give us the purpose and the evidence about this.
Alright, thank you, Aliah. As we all know, now we are facing an era of globalization where in the future, all human resources can communicate internationally. There is one saying from Ludwig Wittgenstein, the limits of my language are the limits of my world. This saying is absolutely true. Language is the most important part of our life. Without language, we are not able to communicate with others. Understanding and mastering another language are the keys how to connect with the biggest world, one of which is English language. English language is also known as lingua franca. Did you all know that 1.5 billion people can speak English? That's a 20% of people in the world, and for most of them, it isn't their first language. And in the current era, English has been used as the language of communication since every day, especially in big cities. This demand makes parents compete to enter their children to schools that use English as a language medium in learning. Children aged 0 to 6 years, which is the golden age, and is a critical period in the stage of human life that will determine the development of the next child. All aspects of language use should be introduced to children before this golden age ends. In educating children, English must be introduced by parents to their children from an early age. In learning English requires appropriate learning methods to increase students' interest and desire in using English in learning activities that are fun and of interest to students, both spoken and written. So, both spoken and written fluently and in accordance with their social context. This study seeks to gain knowledge about the importance of learning English in education related to learning English in early childhood. So, I had this one situation where my one student that I once taught at the institution has since gone to the US due to a family situation. She and I are still in touch because she frequently interrupted my lectures to ask me some questions. So she called me a couple of days ago to check on me and see whether I am doing okay. I then used the chance to ask her about her circumstances there, asking if there was anything wrong with her studies or if she was having any problem. But surprisingly, she had no issues there thanks to her mother who enrolled her in English lessons when she was a little child. I think about 6 to 7 years old as her second language, which is Bahasa Melayu is her first language. So, I think it is clearly that English is international language which is spoken by millions people in the world. In fact, English is most important means of communication among the various countries. For example, there are 53 nations use English as a principal language. So, I can say that the importance of learning English at an early age means they can understand and be understood almost everywhere in the world because most of countries use English as their principal language. Considering my ex-student's situation just now, it is a bonus for her as she learns English as a second language. She do not need to take an extra English classes there. In point of fact, it will save her time during her studies. We often hear that the earlier you start learning a language, the easier is it to master it. So, do you think when exactly is the best age for your child to start learning English? According to a study by Dr. Paul Thompson, a neurology professor at UCLA, the parts of the human brain that specialize in learning new language grow rapidly from around 6 years old until early adolescence, which is 11 to 15 years old. So, children have the unique advantage to learn a language at a much faster pace than teenagers or us as an adult. This is why childhood is considered to be the golden age for children to learn a second language. In addition, I made some researches based on neurological studies. When a child is born, the baby's brain contains about 100 billion neurons that are ready to make connection between cells during the first year. The baby's brain is developing very rapidly, producing trillions of the connections between neurons which exceed the need. The billions of connections must be strengthened through a variety of psychosocial stimuli. Because if this connection is not strengthened by psychosocial stimuli, because if this connection is not strengthened by that, it will experience entropy and disappear, which will ultimately affect the level of intelligence of the child. Then, in another study, it was revealed that about 15% of human intelligence capabilities occur when a child is 4 years old. From the above statement, we know that the age of golden age are more likely to receive information than their later age. So, what are you as parents waiting for? So, as a teacher, I urge all parents to start your child's English learning journey early and watch as they flourish when they grow up with huge potential for success in the future. So, I think that's all point from me.
Thank you, Teacher Naqiyah. From your explanation, you clearly prove the value of learning English at an early age. Let's move to Madam Liana. In your opinion, isn't it too soon to start introducing the English language to young children?
Okay, as we know, English language is known as a deal breaker. Just like what Teacher Aqilah said just now, since English is so widely used as a language of communication in the global society, everything around us is gradually changing. As a result, English is now used in student textbooks, social media, TV shows, and work requirements. So, as a parent, I highly encourage my children to start learning English at a young age because there are many good outcomes for learning English as a foreign language at an early age. So, to start learning English since the first year of primary school is better as children will learn the most essential part of the language, which is vocabulary. So children naturally have a good memory. This enables them to learn the language step by step, which I think is more systematic. They will develop the vocabulary in year 2 and build sentences in year 3. Therefore, they might have a thought that English is not a tough language to learn at further levels. So what I see in my children, when they learn English language, they learn not only words, but also word sentence construction and rules that help them make logical conclusions and apply them in their native language. Okay. On the other hand, while learning new words and adopting grammar rules, my children actively use their brains and exercise their memory, which in this way develops and strengthens. Interestingly, one of the parents, who is a civil servant, mentioned that she has a strong commitment to assist her child to learn by allocating about 50 minutes every evening as a Saturday night to help her son reviewing the lesson, doing assignments, and memorizing vocabulary. To me, education is the priority. I have a strong commitment to assist my child to learn. I allocate about 30 minutes every evening except Saturday night to accompany her reviewing the lesson. And I usually ask my child what she learns during the day, what words she should do, and what vocabulary she has memorized. Then in the evening, I help her with all of that. Okay, but another parent demonstrate a similar idea that young learners have a great enthusiasm in learning new things. Taking her child as an example, she described her son has ability to memorize 150 vocabularies during the first term of his first year. Even though other people can do more, she insisted the ability leads her child to develop his enthusiasm in learning English. And some parents convinced that to have a language competency enable their children to find jobs easily include working overseas. It is important to learn English from now on, and I want my son to gain that skill. If he could acquire the skill, he will have chance to work in Malaysia. Okay, that's my point, right?
So, as a parents, what do you do for your children to learn English at home?
Okay, as a parent, we need to provide fun, lively, and interesting activities. Since language lesson can at times be difficult for children doing repetition in order to get their brain and ear to cooperate and prepare the lesson with physical activity, as children need to have all their five senses stimulated, and children can develop their proficiency through such learning experience. So I provided some pictures of English vocabulary in my children's rooms to help them memorizing the vocabulary and bought English storybooks for them to read. Okay, their father also bought them English DVD cartoons, which he said that was good to improve their listening skill. And my husband and I could not speak English very well. Therefore, we want our children to be better than us. I also take my son to an English course. Even though I do not quite understand English because I did not study at a university, but I usually help my daughter reviewing the lesson, and she will learn at school. For example, where she will learn about preposition. Okay, preposition. I teach her about the topic and ask her to to do exercises from the textbook, and I also invited her to review the lessons she learned. Sometimes when I found the lesson difficult to understand, and I asked the teacher to explain it to me. Then I explain it to my daughter. Okay, so if your child start to study English at a young age, they will absorb the new language in the simplest way and will be able to master the language and pronounce everything correctly. And what is more important that is your child will be bilingual in the future. So when learning English at an older age, it is much more difficult and complicated. But when children study English, they store what they have learned in the same single area in the brain. However, adults need to neurological areas which makes learning a foreign language much more difficult. Okay, that's my point.
Thank you for the informative and interesting talk about this topic, madam. Being the youngest in here, I'm so glad to be the one of the panelists here. Alright, learning is treasure that will follow its owner everywhere. In my opinion, this quote relates to our topic, which is the value of learning English at an early age. So, based on today's topic, I will use my own life as an example. This is evident from the fact that my primary school has a lower emphasis on English as a second language. At that, we particularly in casual talks only. They instruct in basic English rather than using it in daily life. So, my parents frequently watch TV with me and my siblings to expose us in English. This time, we can apply our listening and oral communications skill where we have been exposed by family since our childhood. If a youngster has confined the learning and teaching process only up to the home or a book, it will not do any justice with the purpose. In today's world, there are ample sources that children can pick up skills in language from surrounding. This involves listening skill, which can improve the imagination and vocabulary of a learner. While listening, we used to visualize the scene and memorize our memory. Once the student have mastered their listening skills, they can apply in speaking skills to know their mistake in order to be able to improve in future. Let the teaching and learning process remain fun and engaging, making use of tools like watching English movies and cartoons such as Didi and Friends. This example is suitable for kids because it can give their brain a quick push, enhance the vocabulary, and grasp the pronunciation by listening. These are classic techniques, but that work effectively on a child's brain when trying to learn a new language. But it is really convenient to them. Okay, English language can also be taught with the help of a series on our favorite device and the best guidance, such as these children can learn tools of the lines, pronunciation, diction, with the help of their favorite characters in movie or drama or anything else. It will also help them to develop the English language by expressions and songs. So for me, I can learn new words from my favorite singers such as Taylor Swift. While listening to her song, there are some words that I found difficult to me, so I will search the meaning to understand the words. Other than that, this also can encourage their listening process by making it fun with the help of games. There are some options available available for both board games and educational games in English. This game can be done in groups, so students can learn how to interact with other players and make a bond together. As helpful as listening and reading tasks may be, we also need to use English interactively and practice our own speaking skill. If I'm lucky, I will be friends with a few native speakers who can help me out. But if not, then we can try to meet up with someone else studying English. Another option is to talk to myself in the mirror or record myself in the mirror. So it will flashback to me lah. Listening to the sound of my own voice might be a little bit awkward to me at first, but you will be able to hear mistakes of which I have been mistaken. Let's face it, academic phrases won't just fall from heaven and straight into my brain. Even if the student English is already good, don't be complacent and underestimate stressful factors such as the time pressure in exam. So we still have to practice ourselves, no matter how much time we had left before our big day. Like for me, like SPM, my big day for examination. So I'm trying to come out with the word of the day and then try to apply it as often as possible. If I could do this, I will not waste my time actually specific words they will never actually use. So I will focus to conversational English, which is likely to be relevant in the exam. Not only one learning style is adapted in various resources, but we can also be able to develop learning strategies, generate skills, values, and attitude on it. Few experience will make me grow as a person more than learning the values, habits, and way of life in a culture that is then different from others. It is because we can gain our confidence if we're good in communication skills. Alright, that's on my point for this topic. Madam Liana, can you give the conclusion for this topic?
Okay, what I can conclude from everything that has been said, it is never too early for your child to start learning English. It's fun, promotes healthy development, and the many cognitive and social benefits will last a lifetime. The good thing is you don't have to be fluent in English for your child to start learning, because there are many resources both online and offline that can help create a fun and educational learning development and educational learning environment for your children. And learning new language at a young age is much easier than learning later in life, because the brain's language center is still developing. And learning a new language stimulates a child's curiosity and makes him or her more receptive to other types of learning. It has been discovered that learning a second language improves children's cognitive development, and which in turn improve their overall academic progress. And then children who learn a second language, which is English, are more empathetic towards others and more open to other cultures and experiences. And then gifted children benefit from learning a new language because it presents them with the challenge they may be lacking in their education.
Alright, thank you, Madam Lena. This there anything you want to add for your last word, Teacher Naqiyah?
Yes, I strongly agree with Madam Liana as she said that kids from young age is much easier than learning English at older age because as I said just now that children is golden age, so they can master it without any seconds because it is easier for them to learn English as a children. I think that is all from me.
Thank you, Teacher Naqiyah. Finally, we have come to the end of our forum where we have shared a lot of knowledge we didn't even know before. Before we close our forum, I wish to thank Teacher Naqiyah and Madam Liana for joining me in this forum.
Thank you too for inviting us in this forum.